So I told one of my partners that was standing near me, I said, I've just been hit.
Robert, thank you for being here with us today.
Anytime.
With Deputy Whitson being shot, we're really just taking a look at critical incidents when our members are injured severely and how that really impacts, not just that member, but the community, the rest of us on the department. And you have a very specific and unique experience because not only were you here to help the Whitson family, but you've also been shot on duty.
Correct.
Explain to us, in that instant when it first happens, like what goes through your mind?
So once I realized that I was shot, the first thing that I thought about was my family and then my partners, because I knew now that everything was changing, and I had to worry about, am I still going to be here for my family? I'm no help to my partners now. I need to leave and let them do what they got to do. So there's a lot that goes on. It's amazing how many thoughts you can have in such a short amount of time. And then the next thought was, I got to get out of here and get this fixed.
Set the scene for us a little bit. Were you by yourself? I know you were on patrol. You're responding to a call.
We were actually on a call in the vicinity when we heard the gunshot, and so we responded after hearing that gunshot. I was not by myself. I was there with 3 other partners. Unfortunately, it's still an open case, so I'm trying to be careful with the details, but we were just trying to make contact with somebody.
Gotcha.
The next thing I remember was I heard a gunshot on the other side of a wall, and I was shot through a wall, and that was the first shot that was fired. At first, it didn't quite register. I think I knew that I was shot, but I thought, okay, maybe I'm just shot in my vest and I'm going to be okay. And once I realized that there was blood everywhere, I was pretty confident that it was a lot worse than I had originally thought. The other 3 that were there stayed, obviously, to deal with that, and I removed myself from the scene because I didn't know what lied ahead. I needed to get out of there for myself and for them.
Right. When you put that over the air, right, that you've been shot, what kind of response do you get? What happens then?
So I told one of my partners that was standing near me, I said, I've just been hit. I got to go. I don't remember that conversation very well at the time, but him and I discussed it afterwards, and he said it's something that didn't quite register at first, but they all heard the gunshot, and they didn't know what the totality of everything was. And so he said, okay, go, and then when I put it out over the air, I told my sergeant that I was hit because I knew that she was outside of the complex and I needed somebody to get me out of that area, to the emergency personnel.
You bring that up, that it kind of just doesn't register, and it seems strange to think about because it's something that going into the profession, this is a possibility. Right. We train for the worst and hope for the best.
Right.
But in that moment, it just takes a second for it to sink in.
I think in that situation, myself included, we all reverted back to our training and just acted the way that we're trained to act. And you don't take time necessarily to think about what's actually happening, and so like me, myself, knowing I needed to get out of there and them doing their part, that just became second nature, I guess. And so they didn't process, like what I said or what was actually going on. They knew pretty quick, and while they were still dealing with the situation, they said that they all kind of got a little emotional knowing what's about to happen, but we still have a job to do.
Once that comes out that somebody's been, injured,
right.
And in your case, severely injured, it's like the whole department family takes this like collective holding of their breath until you can figure out like what's happening.
Right.
And in your case, I mean, you got just very lucky in terms of where the bullet entered and what it missed. Like, explain to us how close to, lethal that shot was.
The bullet entered right below my right lung, above my vest, and it severed the bottom of my liver, went through my intestines and colon a couple times, blew apart my stomach, went across my pancreas, and then was lodged. It had ricocheted off a rib on my left side, and then ricocheted up into my armpit and was just below the skin. The doctor said that it missed my aorta by a centimeter. If it would have hit that aorta, they said I wouldn't have even gotten out of the apartment complex.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think that centimeters, are the difference between, life and death. And in this profession, that's a very real thing. Your family, how does it impact them?
It was difficult, but my family's strong. A little background, my wife's a nurse, so she's used to seeing traumatic stuff happen, obviously not to me. So she was able to put herself kind of in that mode of, okay, let's get this fixed. And
she's got like that objective professional view that could kick in.
Yeah, and I think she was able to separate herself just a little bit from the emotional side while she needed to be that strong person. My daughters, they took it a little bit harder, but they were also feeding off of their mom, and hey, she's not too concerned, so I think, a terrible thing happened, but I think we're going to be okay. My two youngest thought that I died, and so that was a big emotional swing for them.
Wow.
Because they watched the news story before my wife was able to tell them don't turn the news on, and they equated me being shot to dying. So here for like an hour or so, they thought that their father had died.
I'm sitting here and I'm watching you talk and I'm thinking, gosh, it was not that long ago that you were, 2 weeks in the hospital and touch and go. And I mean, I hate using that term, a miracle, but I mean, in your instance and also in Dustin's instance, it's absolutely appropriate. Now you're in a position at Employee Resources where you're actually assigned to, help the Whitson family navigate through his injury.
Yes.
So explain to me a little bit about how that feels to be able to take your experience and then translate it to another family.
In the beginning, I wasn't sure how much I should or they wanted me to share about my situation. It was suggested to me that I go ahead and just share my story and maybe that would help. And in the beginning, they were grateful to see, hey, this happened to you, and look, here you are walking around, and and no outside visible signs that anything is different. And so I realized that it was helpful for them to see someone that had been through that. That first week with them was, maybe a little emotionally difficult for me too, because it's, you're kind of having to relive a little bit of that, which is fine. I tell my story to the academy classes and things, so I'm used to that, but it was a little bit more personal. I look at it as a blessing to be able to be in that position to at least be able to comfort some people through stuff. And I've talked to Dustin also, and I feel like that's, hey, you've been through this. It's not easy right now, but I know that it gets better.
I always thought about, wow, your experience helps the Whitson family and you're able to help Dustin, but until you just explained that right now, his experience being able to see the other side of it gave you a different perspective on even your incident.
It did, because all of us just know how we are having to deal with it, what we have to handle, and you don't look at what the family and close friends and stuff are dealing with. And so that was a big eye opener for me, and I think it's important to keep that in mind because it's something that it's a very important part.
So you mentioned that you got to see Dustin, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I know, and we talk about this will to survive, and I think sometimes we say it so much that it loses its meaning, but you guys have both exhibited it. Explain to me, how he seemed when you talked to him. What was his demeanor? When
he had just woken up, he had a lot of questions, but he had that will to fight, like, hey, I'm going to get past this. I think that's normal for first responders to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had that fight, and and I told him it's okay to have your down days, because that happens. But as long as you keep that up, that's the main thing that's going to help you get better, and every time I've seen him, it's just been stronger and stronger.
Is there, any like closing thoughts or like things that you want to share with the community, either about this profession or about your experience?
There's a lot of people that go out and selflessly do this job. And any one of us know that this is a risk at any time. I'm no different than anybody else, except that I just happen to be one of the people that that was shot while on duty. I feel like it's important to know that we're all just people. We have families, that care for us, and I respect all the everybody in law enforcement all across the country that are that are doing this every day, because you just never know what your next call is going to be. And this is something I've wanted to do my entire life, and I never wanted to stop doing this even after the shooting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's thousands of other people that have the same exact thoughts.
Well, we appreciate you
Sharing
the story with us, being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.